After the last conversation, something became very clear to me. When we talk about history shaping behavior, we usually stop at the individual. But history doesn't just shape people. It shapes relationships, families, and leadership dynamics. And if we're honest, there's a quiet tension many people feel today between Black men and Black women, especially around responsibility, relationship, and leadership. You hear it in the conversations like Black women are carrying everything. Black men aren't given the same chances. Why do leadership roles look the way they do? Why do this feel so misaligned? Most discussions turn this into blame, but blame misses the point because what we're actually seeing isn't failure. It's survival responses coddling. And to understand that, we have to zoom out, not to accuse, not to defend, but to explain. For generations in this country, Black men were systematically restricted from stable access to work, housing, and policy-backed opportunities. Employment was unstable. Housing was restricted, to say the least. Public assistance often penalized Black men's presence, and leadership pipelines were quietly closed. That didn't just affect men individually. It reshaped entire Black family systems. Over time, households learned something painful but practical. Survival sometimes required absence. Like I shared in the last video, Black men learned that their presence could cause stability. Women learned that stability often depended on self-reliance. That wasn't preference. That was conditioning. When systems applied pressure long enough, people don't argue with the system. They adapt around it. This brings us to Black women. Many Black women didn't step into leadership roles because opportunities were generously handing them to them. They stepped in because someone had to hold the structure together. Families, households, communities, workplaces, reliability became survival. Strength became expectations. Resilience became the baseline, not the exception. And that conditioning followed Black women into professional spaces. Organizations often came to see Black women as dependable, administratively strong, emotionally durable, low-risk leadership. So yes, Black women are often overrepresented in managerial and administrative roles. But let's be clear, that isn't freedom. That's responsibility without protection. Leadership without margin, authority without insulation, strength without rest. That's not advantage. That's a burden. Now, let's talk about Black men, because their experience runs parallel, not opposite. While Black women were trained into holding systems together, Black men were often trained into operating outside formal systems, not because of lack of ability, but because of lack of institutional trust. Historically, Black men were framed as risk, instability, threat, liability. That framing didn't disappear. It softened. It evolved, but it still remained. So today, what do we often see? Black men with high adaptability, strong situational intelligence, leadership capabilities in informal spaces, but denied mid-management pipelines, institutional sponsorship, decision-making authority. In short, capability without access, skill without trust, and that changes how people show up or withdraw. Where the tension comes from, you may ask? This is where misunderstanding grows. Black women may feel, I had to step up because nobody else could. Black men may feel, I wasn't allowed to step up, even when I wanted to. Both feelings are real. Neither is the enemy. But when survival strategies collide, they look like personal failures instead of historical consequences. So tension forms, not because people don't care, but because they were trained differently by the same system. And when we don't name that, people turn inward or against each other instead of towards the conditions that shaped us. Here's the reframe that matters. When systems exclude men long enough, women are forced into leadership by necessity. When systems deny trust long enough, men adapt outside the system. Both are survival responses. Neither is a moral flaw. We weren't shaped in opposition to each other. We were shaped by the same forces in different ways. And until we understand that, we'll keep mistaking conditioning for character. This moment doesn't require sides. It requires honesty. Black women don't need to shrink their strength. Black men don't need to apologize for their adaptation. What we need is shared clarity. Because when people understand why patterns exist, they'll stop weaponizing them against each other. History didn't just happen. It trained. And healing doesn't come from denial or blame. It comes from understanding and choosing to build differently together.